Some footballers leave a club, some betray a club, and then there is Luís Figo, because Figo's story isn't really about a transfer, it's about betrayal. It's about how a footballer can spend 5 years becoming one of the most adored men in a stadium, only to become the man the stadium can never forgive. For Barcelona supporters, Luís Figo wasn't simply a former player, he was a symbol of something much worse. He was the man who took their love and walked straight into the arms of their greatest enemy, Real Madrid. And when he eventually returned to Camp Nou wearing white, Barcelona supporters didn't just boo him, they wanted him to know exactly what they thought of him. Judas, traitor, mercenary. Then, in one of the most surreal scenes football has ever produced, a pig's head landed on the pitch beside him. But here's the twist. The story isn't simply that Figo betrayed Barcelona. The real story is that Barcelona believed Figo belonged to them. And when they discovered he didn't, the love turned into something far more dangerous: hatred. In 1995, Barcelona signed a young Portuguese winger from Sporting CP. His name was Luís Figo. Nobody knew exactly how far his career would go, but Camp Nou quickly found out. Figo had the kind of football that made supporters lean forward in their seats. He could glide past defenders, he could deliver crosses, he could create something from absolutely nothing, and he had that rare quality great players possess. When the ball reached him, something usually happened. Over 5 seasons, Figo became one of Barcelona's most important players. The club's records credit him with 249 official appearances and 45 goals, while he helped Barcelona win 2 La Liga titles and 2 Copa del Rey trophies. But big numbers don't explain why his eventual departure hurt so much. Figo wasn't just performing for Barcelona, he was becoming Barcelona's man. The supporters trusted him, they admired him, they celebrated him, and perhaps most importantly, they believed he could stay. That belief would eventually become the foundation of the betrayal. There is a difference between losing a player and losing someone you thought was part of your identity. Barcelona supporters had watched Figo grow. They had watched him become a superstar. So when rumors appeared that Real Madrid wanted him, many supporters didn't believe it. Why would he leave? Why would he go there? Why would he trade Barcelona for Real Madrid? The idea sounded almost ridiculous, but behind the scenes, things were becoming complicated. Figo had issues with Barcelona's management. He later said he didn't feel sufficiently appreciated by the club's board. And while Barcelona were dealing with their own problems, Florentino Perez was preparing something extraordinary. He wanted to become Real Madrid president, and he wanted Figo, not just any player, Barcelona's player. Perez understood something that many people underestimated. If you want to make a statement, don't sign an ordinary player. Take something your greatest rival believes belongs to them. Figo was perfect. He was Barcelona's superstar. He was loved by the supporters, and he was one of the most recognizable players in world football. Perez promised to bring him to Madrid. It became one of the most audacious promises in football politics. Then Perez won the election. Suddenly, the promise wasn't a campaign stunt anymore. It was a transfer. And Figo had a choice: stay where he was loved or walk into the most hostile football environment imaginable. He chose Madrid, and with that decision, the relationship between Figo and Barcelona was effectively dead. When Figo signed for Real Madrid in 2000, Barcelona supporters didn't simply lose a footballer, they lost their vision of him. The Figo they had admired was gone. In his place was a man wearing white. The transfer was worth around 62 million euros, a world record fee at the time. But Barcelona supporters were not calculating the fee. They were not asking whether Real Madrid had paid too much. They were asking one question: how could he do this to us? That question explains everything. Because betrayal only exists when trust existed first, and Barcelona had trusted Figo. That's why the word Judas was so powerful. Judas wasn't hated simply because he left. He was hated because he betrayed someone who believed in him. To Barcelona supporters, Figo had done exactly that. Then came the first El Clasico after the transfer. Figo returned to Camp Nou, but this time he wasn't wearing Barcelona colors. He was wearing Real Madrid white. The stadium erupted, but the sound wasn't celebration. It was fury. The player who had once received applause now received whistles, insults, boos. Fake money was thrown onto the pitch, and the message from the stands was brutally clear: you chose them, now you are one of them. This was the moment Figo discovered that football love is conditional. The same stadium that had once lifted him up was now trying to tear him down, and there was something almost poetic about it. Figo hadn't become a worse footballer. He hadn't suddenly lost his talent. He had simply changed shades. But in football, sometimes the shade changes everything. If Barcelona supporters wanted one thing, it was for Figo to fail. Instead, he succeeded. He became one of the pillars of Real Madrid's Galactico. Then came the ultimate insult. In 2000, Figo won the Ballon d'Or. The former Barcelona superstar was now officially recognized as the best player in the world. While wearing Real Madrid white, imagine being a Barcelona supporter at that moment. The player you once celebrated was now standing on top of the football world with your greatest rival. Real Madrid had not only taken Figo, they had turned him into the face of their new empire, and suddenly the betrayal had become permanent. Most football controversies disappear. This one didn't. November 2002, Figo returned to Camp Nou again, but now everyone knew what was coming, but nobody could have predicted how far it would go. As Figo approached the corner flag, objects began flying from the stands. Coins, lighters, bottles. The atmosphere became so dangerous that the referee eventually stopped the match. And then came the image that would live forever: a pig's head thrown onto the pitch right beside Luís Figo. It was shocking, it was bizarre, and it was unforgettable. The pig's head became the physical representation of everything Barcelona supporters felt about him. They weren't seeing the Portuguese superstar anymore. They were seeing Judas, the man who had betrayed them. Here's the part people often forget. Barcelona supporters hated Figo because they had loved Figo. That's what made him different from every other Real Madrid player. They didn't hate him simply because he wore white. They hated him because he used to wear their colors. Michael, who played alongside Figo at Barcelona, later explained that Figo had been both one of their best players and one of their most popular, which made the transfer to Madrid even more painful. And that's the paradox. The greater the hero, the greater the villain. The more important the player, the more painful the betrayal. Figo didn't become Barcelona's Judas despite being loved. He became Judas because he was loved. Now we reach the uncomfortable question: Was Figo actually wrong? From a footballer's perspective, perhaps not. He had a short career. He wanted to feel valued. He wanted a better contract. He wanted success. And Real Madrid offered him all of it. Figo later defended his decision by explaining that he felt underappreciated by Barcelona's management. But supporters don't think like footballers. A player sees the contract, a supporter sees loyalty, a player sees an opportunity, a supporter sees betrayal, a player thinks, this is my career, a supporter thinks, but you were ours. And that difference is exactly why the Figo story became so explosive. People often reduce the Figo transfer to money, but money alone doesn't explain the hatred. If Figo had left Barcelona for another league, the anger would eventually have faded. By Real Madrid, that was different. He didn't simply leave Barcelona. He joined the club Barcelona supporters wanted to beat more than anyone. He didn't walk away from the rivalry. He walked directly across it. That's why his transfer felt like a declaration. Barcelona on one side, Real Madrid on the other, and Figo had chosen Madrid. Today, Luís Figo is remembered as one of the greatest Portuguese footballers ever. His career is filled with trophies, individual awards, world-class performances, and historic moments. But at Barcelona, his legacy is different. His greatest achievement at the club isn't what people remember first. They remember the departure, they remember the white shirt, they remember the booze, they remember the fake money, and above everything else, they remember the pig's head. That's the strange power of football. A player can spend 5 years building a legacy, and one decision can rewrite the entire story. So why did Luís Figo become Barcelona's Judas? Because he didn't live as a stranger. He left as a hero. He didn't join an ordinary club. He joined Real Madrid. He didn't disappear after leaving. He returned to Camp Nou wearing white. And he didn't fail. He succeeded. He won the Ballon d'Or. He became a Galactico. And every success reminded Barcelona supporters of what they had lost. That's why the hatred lasted. That's why the word Judas stuck. And that's why the pig's head became one of the most famous symbols in football history. But perhaps the most painful part of the story is this. Barcelona didn't hate Figo because he meant nothing to them. They hated him because once upon a time he meant everything. And when he chose Real Madrid, the man they once called their hero became something else entirely. Not an enemy they had always known, not a stranger, but something much more painful, a hero who betrayed them, a legend who crossed the line, a Judas in white, Luís Figo.